Jiu-Jitsu has broke my body, sometimes temporarily and sometimes permanently. I've been training for 12 years, and some wear and tear has come as no surprise. There's obviously risk when you're training a grappling-based combat sport, but risk can be mitigated with knowledge and experience. I feel like my chances of getting injured are pretty low these days. It's not something I worry about, and my chances of hurting someone else are also very low. This is because I've been there and done that, and I know what to expect and what to look out for to keep myself and others safe. I'm going to share with you what Jiu-Jitsu has done to my body over the years, how and why it all happened, so you can avoid my mistakes. This will be a head-to-toe overview of how Jiu-Jitsu broke my body, starting with my head. Before we start talking about my head, let's talk about your head. Are you a bit stressed out? A lot of thoughts going on in the back of your head? Same here. Taking care of my business, my family, my training means that stress adds up fast, which is why talking to a therapist can be a great decision, as they can help you in dealing with all that pressure. BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video, makes starting therapy easier and much less intimidating for a lot of people. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/JTJJ, where they'll be giving you 10% off your first month. BetterHelp is great because you can have therapy sessions as a phone call, as a video chat, or even messaging. Whatever is the most comfortable version of therapy for you. Plus, they can match you to over one of 30,000 therapists in their network, based on your needs, preferences, and location, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise. To get started, fill out the questionnaire that will ask you questions about what challenges you're going through and what kind of therapist that you like. And then BetterHelp can match you to a therapist to help you. And if you feel like your therapist isn't a great fit, you can switch at any time for no additional cost. Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/JTJJ and you'll get 10% off your first month. Luckily, the damage to my head has been mostly cosmetic. I've got tons of scars as well as cauliflower ear. How did I get all these scars? Stray knees, elbows, and feet. Unfortunately, these cuts can be hard to avoid. But one thing that can be avoided is being a dumbass like me and not seeking proper medical attention. Rather than going to the hospital and waiting for hours for stitches, I simply superglued my skin back together. This proved to be an unwise choice, as it didn't really work that great and kept reopening. Now I'm left with multiple scars. Most are pretty tough to spot unless you're really looking, but what is really easy to spot is my mangled ears. My left ear sits out a little further than it used to and has some slight cauliflower, but my right ear is a mess. Like, what even is this?
The hell is even that?
I got this from shooting for takedowns during my amateur MMA career. Single legs were my best takedown, and I would constantly smash my ear onto people when shooting for them. I drained it, but I didn't take the time to let it heal before returning to training. I had fights to win. It eventually did heal from wearing headgear for a couple weeks, which I should have done right after draining it, but I hated headgear, and like I said, I can be very dumb and stubborn. Now I'm left with one really strange looking ear, but at least it is a conversation starter. Not Jiu-Jitsu related, but I do have a deviated septum. I got punched in the nose and it's affected my breathing ever since. My neck is not in good shape. My head sits a little bit to my left. I'm not exactly sure why this is the case, but it's probably something I should address sooner than later. And my neck is almost always sore. Every couple months or so, it gets really bad and I can barely turn my head. I have to turn my whole body to turn to the side, which makes driving a car quite difficult when checking for blind spots. Back in the day, I would invert all the time and spend way too much time in stacked positions. I remember my coaches warning me that my neck is going to pay the price from all the trauma that I was putting it through. Of course, I thought I was invincible, and of course they were right and I was wrong. Not that I won't invert, I still do invert all the time, but I don't hang out there and let people crush my neck. I'm not exactly sure how this happened, but for some reason the nerves on my skin on my left flat and my shoulder blade are not working quite right. I don't have any feeling there. I can scratch or poke my left side and feel nothing, but on my right side I feel it. Not the end of the world, but it is kind of weird. It all started when I was rolling one day and feeling pain on my left shoulder blade. And then the next few days I was literally bedridden, as my muscles in these areas were in tremendous amounts of pain. And every time I'd move, my skin would start unbearably burning for some weird reason. Luckily, this hasn't been a permanent injury. When I was a purple belt, I hurt my wrist really bad. I was rolling with a blue belt from a gym I had previously left. We slapped and bumped to restart rolling after I had submitted him, and I went to casually grab his collar from my guard, and out of nowhere, he threw on a wrist lock as hard as he could, and before I could tap, the damage was already done. We were having a casual roll and chatting, and he went from 0 to 100 out of nowhere. I guess it is true, you need to protect yourself at all times, but I still felt like it was needlessly reckless. Luckily it healed, but it just took months. My fingers are mangled. I have cauliflower finger, and likely have arthritis. I don't train nearly as much in the gi as I used to because of my fingers. When I am training in the gi, I need to decide on the spot if a grip is going to be worth it. Usually I can't help myself and I pay the price, especially with bow and arrow chokes and Ezekiel's. To protect your fingers, I recommend not holding onto grips for dear life. If someone really wants to break a grip in training, it can be better just to let them, if your finger health is more important to you than winning the roll. Both my knees have meniscus tears. I had meniscus surgery on my right knee, and recently I tore my meniscus on my left knee. And I'm awaiting an MRI to see how bad the damage is, and whether or not I'm going to need surgery. I can't even remember how I hurt my right knee, but when I did, I kept rolling, which wasn't a great idea. My meniscus tore in a way where the piece that tore would literally pop out, and I could see it moving from inside my skin. Often I would need to pop it back in place by planting my foot on the mat and rotating my leg. Luckily, my surgeon was really nice and made the incision along the lines of my tattoo to hide the scars. Now it feels basically 100%. I hurt my left knee while I was sparring Muay Thai. I was clinching with a 6'7" Muay Thai fighter, and he tried to rotate me, but I was being stubborn and didn't want to move. My foot stayed planted, but my leg rotated. And ever since then, I keep re-injuring it. I've re-injured it 3 times since it originally happened. One time while I was rolling, one time while I was sparring, and one time during the filming of the Ultimate Self-Defense Challenge. But since then, it has been doing pretty good, so hopefully I don't need surgery. As a whole, my ankles are pretty resilient to ankle locks, as I've torn the ligaments so many times playing soccer. I basically don't have any ligaments left to tear, but one time when I was a blue belt, in the finals of a no-gi absolute division, my opponent put on a super powerful ankle lock. I didn't tap, and I went on to win the match by rear naked choke. At the time, I did feel like it was worth it, because it was my first time winning an open weight division. But I couldn't train for 6 weeks, and I had to miss some tournaments that I had my eyes on winning. As you can see, a lot of these injuries could have been avoided, or at least the lingering damage after could have been minimized. Now that I'm older and wiser, I'm not as reckless and stubborn with my body. Longevity in the sport is the goal now. All things considered, my body is in pretty good shape, considering how long I've been doing this. I don't think people need to be overly scared about getting hurt in jiu-jitsu, but rather just be cautious and careful and prioritize safety over winning. Using your body has risks. So does not using your body and living a sedentary lifestyle. So keep training, have fun, and stay safe.